So it's a small group today. I don't know if people are going to be joining. I'll admit them as they're joining, but welcome to Pure Soul members Ask Nikki session. Um, Thanks for joining. This is a time where we just get to ask questions of spirit or just chat amongst ourselves and share information connected to anything to do with spirituality. So I kind of thought that I would start this week with a topic. And one of the topics I wanted to start with that I mentioned in the videos was, what does it mean to you to be spiritual? And so when we define ourselves as spiritual people, what does that mean to you? So whoever would like to answer that or kind of start that, though, that I thought we could get a discussion going on what it means to everybody to be spiritual. So would anybody like to begin?
Oh, that's great.
Okay, Haley, thanks.
Uh,
So, Haley, what does it mean to you to be spiritual? How do you define that for yourself?
um, for myself, it's something beyond me. It's a deeper rooted connection to something that is so much bigger than this human vessel that I'm in right now. So for me, it's like a bigger picture in life, right? It allows me to kind of step outside of who I am and then be able to relate to everyone and also no one at the same time. So to me, it's just it's such something so much grander and smaller. It's like the duality of everything that I experience in like a moment in time. I don't, hopefully that kind of explains it.
It does, and it's really it's a really interesting perspective because what I hear you when you say that to me, you say it's where I get to see the bigger picture. I get to step out of myself and be connected to everyone, but no one at the same time. And what that demonstrates is that when we are trying to achieve a level of spirituality, one of the things that we try to do is step outside of our humanness. And what that means is to come outside of our conditioning, come outside of our opinions, come outside of our beliefs, come outside the fact that, you know, when I was a little kid, they made fun of me and I carry that through my life. And so when you say it's coming outside of myself and rising above that to see the bigger picture, that tells me that you're stepping outside of your humanity. And when you step outside of those conditions of humanity, you are connected to spirit, which makes you connected to everyone because everyone has a force of life. And that force of life that I have, you have, the tree has, the flower has, the
Yeah.
animal has, everybody has, you know, has that source of life. And then at the same time, you say, when I step out of myself and I'm connected to everyone, I recognize when I look back at humanity, I'm connected to no one, right? Because when you're connected to everyone, you are not plural, you are singular. So when you step out of your humanity, you're no longer separate from the people that are here. You're one with them. So how could you be connected to anything else other than yourself?
Yeah.
So your explanation is freaking brilliant because it says, well, it is, because it says everything about what it means to be spiritual is stepping out of your humanity to connect with oneness. And in that oneness, you wouldn't be separate. So you would feel connected to nothing.
Yeah.
So it's
Like, hopefully
actually,
this all makes sense how I just explained that. So,
no, I think it's great. And I think it's a really awesome perception. Hi, Sue. Uh-oh, Sue just dropped off, but Sue will probably be back. I was just going to kind of fill her in on what we're talking about. Does anybody else have an idea or want to mention what spirituality means to them?
I think for me, it's kind of Haley what you were saying, but in addition, it gives me something to like. I'll focus on something that is greater and bigger than me when times really get hard, right? It's a focus of thinking that, and I kind of think it ties into yours, Haley, but having faith that whether you call it God or whatever, that someone to talk to, someone to focus on, thinking, how am I going to get through this, or please help me get through this, or make it better, help me make it better.
as you were talking, I wrote faith. Like before you had said it, I was like, yep, I think we're talking about faith here.
And that's awesome. And I also recognize that because we are human and we are spirit, Pam. And what I like about what you're saying and what you've acknowledged, hold on, let me just admit somebody here. What I like about what you said is that a lot of times in our humanity, we're powerful. We know what to do. We know how to drive our day. We know what to do when we get to work. We know how to handle that guy at the stoplight that has road rage. Like, we have human selves that, like, our conditioning is good on that level, that we know how to, function in our everyday world. And for that, we need our human self. We need to understand our environment, pay attention to what's around us. We need to be human, and that is awesome. But what you've identified is when our human self can't figure it out, when it is too overwhelming, when we tried all the things that we know how to do to fix a situation and we still can't fix it. That's where spirituality is, like, born in you. And what you're saying is that when you feel like you can't anymore, that's when you reach for that spiritual aspect of yourself, like almost passing the torch, like, hey, spirit, I did everything I could here, but like now I don't know what to do. So let me pass you the torch and then you can guide the way. And so I think that that shows that you share a lot of, like, that respect, that I'm going to take responsibility for my earth life. But if I can't do it, then I'm going to focus on that and draw that into myself. So that is beautiful. And it is a reference to faith because it's where you're able to drop the ball and let God take care of it and let spirit take care of that. And I find, and it's interesting you wrote down faith, because my response to that question is, what does it mean for you to be spiritual? For me to even begin to explain that, I would have to describe first what is spirituality. And to me, spirituality is the proof of my faith. I have faith that it's going to rain tomorrow because something in me says it's going to rain tomorrow. So I have faith that it's going to rain tomorrow. But when I open that door tomorrow and it's raining, that is spirituality. There is no question. It just is. It always is. It always takes care of it. So for me, faith and spirituality kind of go hand in hand. Spirituality to me is the proof of my faith. I have faith that there is eternal life. But when that person from heaven reaches out and shows me a cardinal and I know it's my grandpa, oh my gosh, that's spirituality. I always had faith that he would send me a bird. He told me he would send me a bird. So now after he passes and he sends me that bird, that's spirituality. So for me to discern what does spirituality mean to me in my life, it means the proof of everything that I have ever believed. And so that kind of brings us around to what Pam is referencing and also what Haley was referencing. So all of us are kind of together so far. We are telling a story of the different dimensions and aspects of spirituality and what that means to us and how we can kind of bring it. This is so awesome because we get to hear the other perspectives of that. So I really enjoy that a lot. Hello, Christine. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And Sue, I'm glad you are here as well. I think she's still connecting, but I just want to kind of review what we started with today. And today we started with a topic where I thought it would be nice to engage us all in some conversation. And so the question that I posed for today is, what does it mean for you to be spiritual? And so Haley answered for herself and Pam answered and I answered. And so we would pose the question to you guys, what does spirituality mean to you? Or what does it mean to you to be spiritual? How does that impact your life? When Haley answered, and I hope I do this justice, but she was talking about stepping outside of the conditionings of her humanity to be one and connected with spirit, which gives her the ability to see the overall picture and be connected to everyone at the same time, being connected to no one. Because when you reach that level of oneness, you are one. So there is no separation. So you wouldn't feel connected to anything except to that one that you are a part of and that you are. And then when Pam answered about spirituality and what spirituality was to her, she acknowledged that spirituality to her is when her human self has really done everything that she can on earth to help a situation or move a situation along, that when she can't or when she becomes weary, that's where spirituality comes in with her. And that for her, that really connects to her faith and what she believes about spirit. And so that drew in faith. And then my response, and I'm just kind of summarizing, but then that my response was that spirituality is actually the proof of my faith. And that if I believe it's going to rain tomorrow, because I feel something inside says it's going to rain, so I'm going to have faith in that, that when I open the door tomorrow and it's actually raining, that's spirituality to me. And so if you feel comfortable sharing what spirituality is to you, who would like to go next? We have Cheryl or Casey, who's not on camera, but her name says Bailey because that's her beautiful daughter. And we have Christine and we have Sue. So would you guys like to share what spirituality means for you?
I'll go.
Okay, Cheryl.
Spirituality, for me, well, a big part of it was meeting with you for the first time and many times afterwards, and just like, you know, what I always believed growing up, because we went to church, you know, and I'm trying to think of how to word it. When I met you, everything that like it still was there, but now it was like a bigger picture, you know. And I can feel like now that I've met with you, and I'm not saying like, you know, me going to church all those years didn't bring out something in me, but meeting with you and just the way of your thinking and the way like it opened up my mind more than ever before, you know. And I feel like the spirituality with me, I feel more at peace after meeting with you and speaking with you, and I feel closer to God. Actually, to me, that would be my spirituality. I feel a little bit closer to God and to my loved ones in heaven and to my soul and to like it just all the things, all the different things. That's
what I think that is mind blowing, and here's why I'm going to tell you that, because what you're saying is that like you knew and you had faith and you had belief and you went to church all those years and you trusted that there was a God and that there's life after death and you have family in heaven. But what you're describing is like a mind blowing experience, something that shifted your thought process, that spirituality for you awakened you like to yourself and your brain, like you're thinking things in a different way. That's people sometimes make fun of me because I'm amazed all the time.
Me
like
too.
Stuff happens and I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't make that shit up. Are you? Oh my gosh, can you believe that? Oh my God. And it like blows my mind every time. And that, and the more and more it blew my mind and blew my mind and blew my mind, I realized that I was only using a small part of my mind. And as we start to have those experiences that expand our consciousness and kind of trigger different areas of our mind, things that have always happened to us that we never thought about, you know, when I was 7 or when I was 12, I thought, don't forget your sweater on the way to the barbecue as I'm running out of the house. And that's all it was, is me thinking, don't forget your sweater. But like 20 years later, I was like, oh my gosh, my spirit told me not to forget my sweater. That's crazy. You're right. And so when you start to embrace that, there comes a point where the conditioned human mind is not as functioning as that spiritual consciousness. So one time my daughter and I, Brittany, were having a conversation and she was asking advice from me. And when she was asking me the advice, I knew that she wanted Nikki the mom, not spiritual, but just me, Nikki, mom. And I knew it, but I couldn't find the answer in my brain. And it was a challenge. And I said, I can't, I know that you want me to answer you from a human perspective, but I cannot find that answer. But I know it's there, but I just can't find it, because what immediately responded was those areas that got blown open during those different experiences that we all have in connection to our spirit. And that's the mind that responded first. That's my set of consciousness. And I got confused about it. And I asked my grandma in heaven, I was like, oh my gosh, show me where my human self is. Like, what's wrong with my brain? I can't find the answer. And I couldn't even, nothing was working. And so my grandmother came to me and she took me on this little adventure, which I won't bore you with, but she showed me this place behind my ear that looked like a kidney bean, or like a little walnut. And so Brittany was with me and I asked her, I was like, could you do a brain diagram and like look up on the internet what part of your brain is right behind your ear there that looks like it's like a kidney bean or a, you know, like a walnut? And so she does, and she says it's called the insula. So I was like, well, look up the insula and see what it is. So she looks up the insula, and it's where you process your humanity. And it's this big, but my brain, it has so many other thinking parts now since those mind-blowing kinds of experiences that you're talking about. And so when that happened, I was like, wow, it might be a myth that we only use 10% of our brain, but our humanity is kind of localized in that insula as far as how we process emotion and conversation. And then the rest of my brain is available to spirit. So when you say, Cheryl, that it's like you reference that shift in your thinking and that awareness and that connection to that part of yourself that's inside, that's like spirituality to you is that mind-blowing, which simply means not that you have to be fascinated, but that parts of yourself awaken. And as you notice, when you are seeking, or when somebody like you has that type of spiritual awareness that happens in the crown chakra and the third eye chakra and the analytical self, then you will notice that parts of your physical head wake up. So you'll be driving and you'll feel like someone rubbed a balloon on you and your hairs feel like they stand up on end, or you'll get you know, tingles on one side of your head, or your vision will go out for just a split second, or you'll feel a pressure that you don't know where the pressure is from. And I'm sure, because you're nodding, Cheryl, that you've had those experiences, that different parts of your head have a sensation that you can't pinpoint. Even if you go to a doctor, they're going to be like, there's nothing wrong with you. And so that's beautiful. And I love that that's your explanation. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else would like to share? Sue, would you like to?
Share, what's the question? What is spirituality to me?
Yeah, what does spirituality mean to you?
Oh, I don't know. I'm so tired. Forgive me.
Okay, well, it's okay. No, that's okay. You don't have to
over
answer.
COVID is just like stuff. But I mean,
yeah.
You know, I grew up with a mother who is kind of connected to the other side, and my husband's a little connected to the other side. And I always thought, I got nothing, you know, but I don't have nothing. You know, and so anyhow, being raised to know that we can communicate with other spirits and things like that, it has kind of taught me that, you know, that whole thing is completely separate from religion, you know, especially some of the religions. I don't know. I shouldn't start on the religion thing, but being spiritual doesn't mean that you're religious necessarily. I mean, to me, it's kind of separate. I mean, of course, there's God and Jesus and all that, but some of the religious stuff, I don't know, I have a problem with. I've been in like lots of churches, but so I don't know, what is spirituality? It's my faith in the spiritual world, I suppose.
I think what I hear you saying, and I'll try to paraphrase what you said, so excuse me if I don't do you justice. But one of the things that you're saying is that spirituality for you represents freedom from anything that is outlined as a structure of how you should connect to God. And so you referenced the religion, at the religion being, this is somebody threw up some guidelines in each of the different religions and said, if you're going to be spiritual, you have to fit into this box. And what you're describing is that spirituality for you doesn't fit in a box. It's
Yeah,
not
right. Not that
defined.
box and not many other
Right.
boxes.
Right. That it's not defined by somebody else's perception, but that it's free from that and free from the conditioning. So spirituality for you really represents a freedom to connect with God and your loved ones in any way that works for you, that doesn't have to be indoctrinated by some other structure. So spirituality for you is freedom. And I have found also in my life that spirituality actually, that does allow me the freedom to honor myself and to recognize that I am a spirit just like you are a spirit. And if I honor me, truly, I am ultimately honoring you at the same time that I'm doing that, because at the place of honoring self, we're only one thing. So I could never honor me without honoring you, or I'm not doing it the right way. And so I like that your description of spirituality is the freedom to connect with spirit in whichever way works for you. And I think that that's beautiful. So Linda or Catherine or Casey or Christine, would any of you guys like to share your idea of spirituality or what it means for you? Okay. And that's okay. And we can move on because we are in the Pure Soul Ask Nikki. So I will turn it over to you guys now. So we can talk about whatever you like. So who has a question or who would like to have us focus on something for a little bit?
Can I just ask, in anyone's opinion, kind of what you were saying, Pam, that faith aspect, would you consider that like a self-empathy at all? Like, I can tell the difference between, hey, I need to lean into the faith outside of myself when I've given all of that. Would that, I don't know, that idea of like self-empathy would come in for me.
I don't know that it's that way for me. Like, like most of my day, one thing I'll talk to like my mom or my dad, right? The spirits or whatever. But then there's the other piece where I just talk to God. Like I start my day that way, I end my day. And so because I have a faith that there is something bigger than me and that I have to have that faith. And I think part of it was because of how I grew up too, Catholic, all that. And, and I also feel that if I don't have faith in something other than me, then what do I have? Right? Like I have a deep faith because I've seen things that are so much greater than anything that could be here. I don't know if any of that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I pull on it when it gets hard, even though it's part of my daily life.
Okay. No, that makes sense. For some reason, how I was envisioning it is when I need that faith, right? Like I need to lean into something bigger, grander than myself, right? Would that be me giving myself as a human being a self-empathy, right? Like I can distinguish myself as a spirit, myself as, it's not intertwined, they're separate, right? And I'm giving myself an type of empathy of, you need, like I need that.
Like a leaning post, like something to lean on. And so your spirit self guides you toward that faith in God, or says, you're not alone. You have this to lean on. So that you would see that yourself can't do it. So you need the other self. So that would be like a self-empathy. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So
okay, I was like,
that totally makes sense.
Myself.
No.
I'm thinking of
that
it
totally
like it's
makes
not
sense.
intertwined where I can't tell the difference between both, but that there's a level that I'm like, I don't know why it keeps going like this with my arm. So This is
You
my
know, something,
explanation. You get it?
yeah, something that I also recognized many years ago, and Pam, you were in my life when this was all happening to me, but I found that for 1 month, all the readings I had were with Hindu people. And then the next month, all the readings I had were
Yeah.
Catholic people. And then the next month, all the readings I had were Buddhist people and Muslim people. And I visited with every religion. And what I found is they're all the exact same. Every one of them is the exact same. They're just, the story is told differently, but it is literally the exact same thing, just with different representation. So what I recognized about religion and faith is religion gives you a base faith. It helps you to have that structure so that you can step out of the structure, you can question, right? And so being Catholic for me, that helped me to explain who I am, because the Bible said I'm three things. The Bible said I'm a Jesus self, a God self, and a Holy Spirit self. So if I'm supposed to understand myself, I guess I better understand all three parts of God. And that's the Bible. So if my faith is true, if that's true, am I three things in other areas of my life? Well, Sigmund Freud says I'm an id, an ego, and a superego. And spiritual people say I'm mind, body, and soul. And my therapist people say that I'm analytical, physical, and emotional. So my faith must be true. But my faith, my religion is what gave me the guidelines to discover me. Now, if I'm a Hindu person, well, I can discover me because they have a lot of gods, which are simply our Catholic saints. Right? And so they also have that human God. They have an educator God. They have the warrior God. Well, that sounds like, Archangel Michael, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, or Archangel Raphael, right? So they also discover themselves through their structure. So the structure serves you for your base of self-discovery. And that's why religion is beneficial. And when religion is done teaching you, because it's the moment you start to rebel it. But up until you start to rebel it, those stories, those things you learn in CCD and religion class, when you go to church, those belief structures that you have your whole entire life, until one day you ask a question and now none of it makes sense. That's the day you know that your religion is done teaching you. Now you're supposed to apply what you've learned and discover yourself through those guidelines. So am I able to do that as a Catholic person? Am I able to see myself through the structure of what Christianity says, which is a Trinity? And we are in a 3D world. So it even makes more sense when we talk about dimensional dimensions of where our soul travels. If we're in the third dimension, which is our dimension here, and the fourth dimension is heaven, that's just one dimension over, right? So if I can discover through my religion, of my base religion, and have faith because of my base religion, and discover myself through that structure, which will make me rebel the structure, now I am able to reach that fourth dimension where my family members are. See? So yeah, that's awesome. That's great. So I'm just thinking maybe we should move on a little bit. I wanted to take a moment to talk about Promise Week. And this is Promise Week, or whatever week you deem in the Pure Soul Spirit topic. I don't know if everybody got a chance to watch the video, but one of the things that I discussed was trying to develop a better relationship with your spirit so that you and your spirit can trust each other, so that she knows when she asks you to do something intuitively that you'll do it and that you'll live up to it. And it also puts our human self kind of on a challenge, because sometimes we have these great ideas and we start these things. And for me, it was like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet. And then I last on the diet like a day. And then I blow it. And then I just give up and I don't try it the next day. And that's what our topic was this month, is to try to bring a little bit of your solar plexus energy, that your solar plexus you can trust that you will accomplish what you say you're going to accomplish, and that you'll set up the correct structure to do that. So in Promise Week, I suggested that you take a week, you take 7 days, and you pick something that you can live up to, some promise that you make yourself that you can live up to. My suggestion is that you start super, super easy. And so one of the examples that I gave in the video is that I tried to make my bed for 7 days and I couldn't do it. And it took me 3 tries, 3 weeks, 21 days to be able to live up to myself and make my bed for 7 days. So I finally accomplished it. And when I finally accomplished it, it led me into making more promises to myself and accomplishing more things and holding myself accountable to my dreams. You know, your spirit is the one that gives you your dreams. Your human self is the one that has to act upon those dreams. Right. And so if we don't do our human part to those inner promptings for our future or for something that we're supposed to become or do in this world, if we don't have the human structure to be able to really accomplish it, how are we going to do it? And so when I was praying about, like, what am I going to talk about for spiritual focus? Because I pray every month about, like, what does God want us to talk about? What does he want me to share for this focus topic? And I've been kind of letting myself down here and there. It took me a month before I actually agreed with my spirit to clean the basement. I was supposed to work on a workshop that I just kept putting off, even though it's right there on my computer. Every day I make myself the promise I'm going to do it, and I don't do it. So when I was thinking of this, I knew that this was also for me. And because I suggest, even though I've done this so many times, I thought I better start easy. So I promised myself, because I drink a lot of Diet Coke, like a lot of Diet Coke. I always have this glass totally full of Diet Coke. I thought I could swap it out, and one of those Diet Cokes per day, I'm going to replace with water. So the first day I did it. The second day I did it, but I missed the Diet Coke. So today, because I didn't want to give up on my third day, I have Diet Coke in this glass and water in this glass, because I want to make sure I drink my water. So I'll have the water because I promised myself I'm going to have the water. I'm going to finish the glass. And then after I have that sip of water, I'm still drinking my Diet Coke. So far I'm on day 3 and Promise Week is going okay. Have you guys watched the video? Have you tried Promise Week, and what's it doing for you?
Yeah, so I watched the video, thought it was great. So I decided to do, okay, nobody fall over laughing, but 3-minute workout every day for 7 days. I figured, okay, I could start with 3 minutes. Well, I did it great the first day. I did 6 minutes, but then the next day I didn't do it, and that screwed me up. So now I got to start again on my 7th day. And I may be getting ahead of myself here, but if I can get through the 7 days, right, and hopefully that'll become a part of my routine. Like, Nick, how do you like, where do you take it to the next level? Like, how does it expand in other parts of your life? Or do you keep doing 7 days?
You keep doing 7 days while your spirit prompts you to do so, because, you know, maybe it's going to start easy. Maybe you say, yeah, I'm going to drink water. So that's what I told myself, because I tried to make it as easy as possible. And when I did this, 20 years ago, when I did this then, because Marissa was 2, so that was 22 years ago. So when I did this 22 years ago, I started with making the bed because I wanted to make sure I couldn't fail. I thought, I didn't want to fail again at something. And I was in a period of my life where I kept feeling like no matter what I tried to do, I kept failing. I couldn't even live up to myself. So how the heck was I going to accomplish any of these things that I wanted to? And I was in the Marine Corps and I had to make my bed like 100 times a day. So I figured that's easy. I can just make my bed. Monday went great. Tuesday, I was running a little bit late. Wednesday, Marissa got sick in the morning. I had to change clothes. I gave it all up, right? Because life got too hard for me to continue. And I got too distracted. And I let the things that were happening on earth and in my morning distract me from my relationship with myself. And that took me a few tries to figure that out. And so, yeah, the following week, I thought, okay, well, I'll make my bed and I'll already decide what I'm going to make for dinner, and I'll take the stuff out of the freezer. So when I get home, I'm not stressed out and the food is out. And then I did really good at that. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to clean one room a day and I'm going to do that for 7 days. And then I got really good at that. And so I started noticing that all these things, I kept getting more and more difficult. I kept adding more and more stuff, and I was accomplishing it. And I felt good about myself. And then one day I was trying to figure out, well, what should I try for now? And then something happened in my belly, and this feeling started in my stomach, and it came all the way up to my heart. And it showed me an argument that I had with somebody a long time ago. And my soul thought that I should make amends. So I listened and I made amends. And then it clicked. Oh, I just had to learn to trust myself. And once I learned to trust myself, all the things I have buried inside of me, they're going to arise. They're going to come up, and I'm going to do them, because now I had been in like a 6-month pattern of not letting myself down. Right? But it was all with stuff on earth. And then that day it was different, but I hadn't let myself down in 6 months. So of course I had to do that, because it registered as the next thing I have to do for 7 days. So for the next 7 days, I thought of everybody I pissed off or was mean to, and I called them and apologized to them. And it was great. And then I started to notice, okay, I made my amends. And then the next thing my spirit said to me was, oh, you should buy that pretty ring. You should buy some nice clothes. So then it was like my spirit was guiding me to be better with myself. And so there's this, our goal of Promise Week is to help you be friends with your spirit. But you can't be friends if you don't even trust yourself to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. How can you default to an inner voice if you can't listen to the voice that says, you should drink more water, Nikki? Nikki, you should apologize to those people that you were not nice to. You know, you should be able to make your bed. If you tell yourself you're going to make your damn bed, that's not so difficult. So if I'm 2, I'm 3, but there's a human and there's a spirit. So if I, as a human being, can't even do the human stuff, how am I ever going to default to my soul and become friends with it in a way that now all my dreams can come true? And that one day my spirit is going to tell me to do something. And am I going to do it with the faith and the belief that there's a reason, even though I don't know what the reason is? And that happens. One day my spirit said to me, write a spiritual portfolio. And I thought, what is the heck is a spiritual portfolio? So I made like a spirit resume, but I didn't know why. So I figured, well, I should probably drop this spirit resume off at all these places. And so I did, and none of those places called me. So I got upset, didn't know what my spirit was talking about, took that portfolio and threw it in a closet, didn't think about it again for 6 months. And then Blue Lotus Temple called me, Abante Sujatha, and he's like, hi, are you Nikki? I said, yes. He goes, I've heard of you. Would you like to come and teach a class at the temple? I said, yeah, I would love to do that. He goes, great. Do you have a portfolio you can send over to me so I could take a look at your qualifications? And I was like, whoosh. Faith, spirituality, inner prompting, trust of the self. That's what we've been talking about today. And then that opens up doors for you. You see? And so every single thing we talked about today that's where we're going. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to trust our human self. Then we're trying to trust our spiritual self. Then we're trying to be friends and, make them two friends. And then we are guided to do things that we don't know why until later. And then later, mind-blowing experience for Cheryl. Like, whoa, like crazy. Right. And that was that mind-blowing experience that happened to me that day, because I trusted myself, because I listened to my inner prompts, because that's what we're doing here today. That's what we're trying to do. So Promise Week is just the beginning of you trusting yourself so you can trust your spirit, so she can trust you, so you can become interactive and always know what you have to do next. Right?
Kind of
Can I sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it reminds me so much of, obviously being in the more psychological field, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, like we need to do the basics at the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've always loved this quote that says, when I work with a lot of people, they want this like self-actualization. I'm like, but you're not showering, you're not brushing your teeth, you're not doing the basics in life. How can we get to this space? And it's in simply like doing small, minute tasks over and over time that you don't know you're even making a difference. But when you look back, everything is different. And I've always loved that, because people want the lotto win of change, right? But it's in just small little things. It's in the 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in, because if you said, okay, I'm going to work out an hour and a half every day, like that may happen one time, right? But it's in these small, minute changes over time that everything changes, because that's where real change facilitates and makes it, right? Of course, everyone wants the self-actualization, like, duh. But like, if we can't do the little things, like we're talking about, like making your bed, working out, meditating, doing this, like, right? It is having that self-trust that I'm my home. If I can't be my home base for me, then who can I go to, right? And that's why I think sometimes so many people go astray, or like put so much value into what other people say or do, right? Like what works for me might not work for you.
Mm-hmm. And I think what we find is what might not work for, or what might work for me might not work for you. I think this practice and Promise Week is what helps you determine what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Right? Because we always, the world tells us we're supposed to compare ourselves to everybody else. So I want to do that, but we don't take step one. We don't do step one. We're not, and that self-comparison, that comparison that we have with other people, it doesn't allow us to grow organically with ourselves, because we're measuring ourselves against something that we are not. We don't know what we are yet. Right? We're working up that ladder. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask a question. Do you find that the moon, or the full moons in particular, interfere with all of our plans? Like 2 days ago, when we had the lunar eclipse and that big old moon on the full moon, did anybody else kind of like go crazy that day? Or is it
I
just
think,
me?
I feel the full moon. My dogs feel the full moon. They act wacky when it's the full moon. So we are all connected. That's universal. So yeah, I would definitely say yes, that can affect us. It affects our vibration.
Well, I broke all my promises that day to myself. So that was an epic setback.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
What time are we at? Okay. Anybody else have any comments about that, about Promise Week, or anything surrounding that topic? If not, we can also move on. Cheryl, you were going to say something? Mm-hmm.
I listened to your video, and I really feel like I am fighting my inner self. I really feel like I am, like my promise was like, okay, I'm sick of being a fat slob, so I am going to work out. And something inside of me has been like, okay, you want to go work out? Come on, let's do this, And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go and, get a membership at the Y. It's a mile away. It's not even far, And so like yesterday, I don't even have the membership to the Y yet. So how can I go work out? So that was Monday. So yesterday I went into the Y and I got the paper and she was like, oh, like the lady was like, oh, you can go take it home and fill it out. And I was like, oh, perfect. And as I'm walking out, inside of me is like, hey, what are you doing? You were just inside. Like, what are you doing? So, I work today and then like, I'm like, oh, I pick up my kids, whatever. And I passed the Y. And then I heard myself or myself, saying,
You're so,
yeah, idiot. Like, what are you doing? And then like for you to say, and then like, I totally, it's like, I'm pushing it out and I don't know why I am struggling so much with like fighting her. I mean, I feel like I'm like after hearing all this, I feel like I'm fighting myself now. And now that's like,
yeah, that's what we do. And it takes us a minute to figure out that that's what we're doing.
yeah,
Like, so you're figuring it out, but I figured that out too with the making the bed thing. I was like, screw it. I already screwed it up for Tuesday. Screw it. And
right.
I'm like, I'll just start again next week, And then by Thursday, I was like, I already screwed it up yesterday. I'll just forget it for this week. And so we do. And that is part of our human conditioning. That's that inner conversation that we're having. And you'll get sick of hearing your argument. You'll get sick of hearing your own inner argument. And even yesterday, when I was on day 2, I had switched out my glass. So I dumped out the soda and I added the water. And I got to like, I had this much water left, but I was so done with the water. I was like, I'll just forget it. And I made myself drink it. Like I made myself drink the rest. And then I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is stupid. I don't even like the taste of water. Like this is ridiculous. And then today I told myself again, don't forget to drink the water. And I literally know I still need the soda, but I am going to drink the water. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to deny myself the soda. I'm going to drink it also. And so now I'm almost done with this glass of water, which is good. I've met my requirement for today. So you will find that maybe this first time around, maybe that's too big of a thing, right? Maybe it's too big to go get a membership to the Y. Maybe just walk around the block once a day for 7 days. And then if you do that, maybe you walk around the block twice. Try to set it up in a way that you don't have any argument for yourself, right? Exhaust your own inner argument. So, okay, well, if you're going to argue with yourself about the why, well, how about, you do 10 push-ups a day and you walk around the block. Can you do that? That's easy. You don't have to go nowhere. You're not asking of your own humanity to make more work for yourself to accomplish that one problem. That one promise says, I'm going to work out. Now you've added like 100 other issues in order to accomplish that problem. In order to accomplish that problem, don't add anything to it. Just address that. I need to work out. Okay, great. What can you do it right this moment? What can you do right this moment? Then you can do that for your 7 days. This way you don't overwhelm. That's why I was like, I could make my bed. Why? I only have a comforter, no top sheet. I just got to shake out that comforter and I'm done. 26 seconds. How can I possibly fail at that? Oh, I failed by Wednesday. Took me 3 tries.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No,
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, and the more, and that's part of getting to know your spirit, because now you're seeing the duality. Now you're like, hey, wait a minute. I'm observing an argument with myself. Well, if you're observing an argument you're having with yourself, you're not either self. You're not the human self who's arguing, and you're not the spirit who's telling you to do it. You're something else witnessing the argument.
I see.
You see that? You see how you're observing your own argument?
I do see, yes. Yes, I see everything clearly.
Yeah, no, but that means you're neither side. You're neither spirit nor body.
Well,
otherwise you couldn't observe that interaction. So now you're at the Holy Trinity part of yourself. You're neither the God self nor the Jesus self, yet you're the self that observes that interaction, which is the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So you're in the third part of your Trinity when you're observing. You see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Wait, I have one more question. I
Yes.
recently found out that I'm going to be a grandma. She is, yes, it's crazy. My first one,
Congratulations!
I,
Yay!
I still have 5 weeks to the ultrasound. Do you see, like, if it was a boy or a girl? Can you even see that?
I will pray about it later and let you know if I get anything back.
Just
But
let
that
me
is
know.
so wonderful. Congratulations. I'm
Yes,
super excited
I'm
for you.
over the moon. Thank you so much.
Wow, you're gonna be a great grandma.
Mhm. Thank you.
Great. I know that we have a few minutes left. So does anybody have any other topic or comment about anything that we've talked about today?
You know, just to add to the kind of thing about the promise week, what I've noticed, whether for myself or just working with other people, is when I'm trying to accomplish something, like if it's making the bed, if it's meditating, it's working out, it's changing a habit, whatever, it's being very specific. So if my goal was I want to meditate at lunch, that's not specific enough. Is it before lunch? How long is it? So the more specific it is, like it's okay, I'm going to go to the Y at this time, at this date. This is when it is. So then it's like, this is what I'm doing, right? It's harder to deviate from that and to kind of go on that idea you're saying, like it's neither your body or your spirit, right? It's kind of the thought. It's not the past, the now, or the future. It's not the now anymore. It's the thought versus the thought. So we're kind of like in this loop of the thoughts are arguing. I kind of call it like a neural gossip. Just kind of like gossip in our head that's going on of like, you know, and it's like we end up kind of fighting ourselves, right? So I know for myself, it's helped me to be very specific with my goals or my intentions. So this is when I'm getting up. This is when I'm doing this. Like it helps. And I've just noticed for other people, it's helped as well to be specific in that way. So maybe that would be helpful. I don't, it's something to try potentially.
I think that's a great idea. And I think a lot of people respond to that it's more regimented, it's more structured. Like this is when I'm going to do it because then I have an easier way to hold myself accountable because I know I do it at 11. But if I say I'm just going to do it today, I'm going to keep putting it off and then the day is going to be over and I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And so that's a great way to approach it also. And interestingly enough, I'm very much like that in my humanity. Like if I have a job and you're my boss, I want specifics. When are things due? What time do you want them? How do you want them done? And I need to follow that structure. So it works for me on the human side of my life, but on the spirit side of my life, structure is not even, it doesn't happen. So unstructured. And so that actually feels more comfortable to me on the spirit side to be unstructured yet structured on a human perspective. So I think that's a great approach because you can go either way with that.
Yeah.
And whatever works best for you, whichever approach actually works best for you. Do you want to schedule time with your spirit self? Great. You want to just stop what you're doing and do what she says when she says to do it? That's what I do. I stop what I do what she says, and then that's it. But sometimes I'm like, okay, I can't think about that now. I will get together with like I told about your grandbaby, Cheryl. I'm like, okay, I already said to my spirit, we got to remember to talk about that later so I can focus on that. And so, yes, that's great. I think that's great. So I am at times scheduling time. I know I'm going to do that during my evening prayers. Like tonight when I pray, that's included. So then I should get response at that time. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. If you have to hold yourself accountable, then, or you find too much argument, structure the time, put the timeline in. That's a great idea. Thank you for that. That's perfect. So I encourage everybody to try this. It does help you to grow significantly in your body soul relationship. So, okay, we have a few minutes. Anything else from anybody today? This was really a great conversation today with everybody. I am so thankful for everybody's input and all of your everything. So I just love everything you guys said today. So
Yes. I just want to say one more time, mind blown. I mean, every single time. Every single time.
wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you. Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything else for us today?
I ask something maybe that you could
Oh,
just pray?
yes.
So about like an hour and a half ago, my grandma got taken from my house by ambulance.
I'm so sorry.
It was possibly another stroke, which would have been her third. So maybe you can just pray on it. Maybe everyone in the group can just pray for us because we're really.
I will definitely pray for you, but I do still feel your grandmother inside of her solar plexus. One of the things that your spirit responded is that there isn't a separation in her solar plexus. Our solar plexus defines who we are in humanity. So it looks like she's trying to hold tight onto that. So I know she's got a really strong will.
Yeah.
I also see some of her energy reaching down to her root chakra too. So hopefully she's going to pull past this one too.
We're hoping because it's horrible. We don't really get to see her. She's been with us the last few days. And then I've been with her with my kids the last couple of days at my mother's house. And I'm on my way here and they're like, she just left 10 minutes ago in the ambulance because
Wow.
we're just like, she's 89, we're just,
Yeah.
she's really religious. She like keeps the whole family together. So it's like really freaky, just freaked us out.
Okay.
And
We'll be praying.
Thank you.
What's your grandma's name?
Joyce.
Joyce? Okay. So we will be praying for Joyce. And it's nice just to know their names so that when you pray for them, you can really send that prayer and dedication to them. Yes, definitely. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, thank you so much for participating today. This was really great. I appreciate it so much. And I look forward to next time. Feel free to reach out during the month if you have any questions or any ideas about what you'd like to hear from us, then that would be great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you.